Thokozani family, Thokozani, how's everybody doing? There are many ways to skin a cat. There are many ways to skin a cat. Hi, Jocelyn. What am I going to do with Jocelyn? Add as moderator. Who can do all this, block accounts, mute everything. All right, Jocelyn, I've given you the handle on this so that Thokozin, so that we can keep going. Thokozani. So I'm using this account now because I was on live on my Nkanyezi Healing account, on my other account, and our account was blocked because we had an imposter who probably went and reported, and so I am not allowed to use the live function on that account for the next 7 days. However, I'm going to do the teaching here and I'm going to post it on YouTube so that everybody can have access to it. So this is a part 2 of a deeper look at the Gregorian calendar and the fact that basically we've been using the Gregorian calendar all this time, which has had us misaligned. And of course, it's very interesting that I got blocked today of all days when I was trying to wake up the peoples that they should not be taking part in these so-called New Year celebrations because it's got nothing to do with us. It's not our New Year. Our New Year is in September, according to our African calendar. We have no business. And I said in the last one, when you are celebrating the so-called New Year, you are celebrating the god Janus, who is celebrated on the 1st of February, according to the Gregorian calendar, the ancient Gregorian calendar. This is a Roman god, Janus. And so, yeah, I'm saying the god of beginnings and the god of endings. That's who Janus is. Got nothing to do with us. So, and on the last one, remember these things are posted on YouTube after I do them here. So on the last one, we did January, February, and we did a little bit of March. And so we were talking about March coming from the word Martius, who is the Roman god of war. And so during, on the 1st of March, there was a festival held for Martius, the god of war, and this was when the military campaign season would start in ancient Rome, meaning that, you know, the ancient Romans would go on a unaliving spree. I got to be careful with my words here. So then they would go around doing what they do best, which was warring and plundering, right? So then comes April. Now, April is an interesting month because in Latin, it's Aprilis. That's the Latin term. And basically, Aprilis means to open, and it was dedicated to Ishtar. Ishtar is the goddess of fertility in ancient Rome. She was the goddess of actually fertility, love, and war. And she's associated with the planet Venus. And she was also considered protectress of prostitutes and patroness of pubs and taverns. So that is who Ishtar is. And the question then becomes, what does Easter have to do with Ishtar? Right? What does the birth, death, and resurrection of the Lamb got to do with Ishtar? This is where also people don't know this, but have you ever asked yourself why there are Easter bunnies? What is the Easter bunny representing? And why do we have eggs at Easter? Right? So the eggs representing fertility, the Easter bunnies representing the fact that, you know, bunnies do a lot of reproducing, right? Fertility. Bunnies are extremely fertile, right? So we need to always try to use critical thinking when we are looking at some of these so-called feasts and festivals and celebrations, because as Bagwantu, we will find ourselves partaking in things that do nothing for us as a nation. We'll find ourselves partaking in things that actually assist in the perpetuation of our mental enslavement. And if the mind goes, the body follows. So if you're mentally enslaved, then what it means is that you are also, to some extent, physically enslaved, because your mind is what really creates your physical reality. Does that make sense? So we need to be very careful with that. Then, of course, comes May. Now, May is, the name is derived from a Greek goddess, Maya. But the Roman goddess was Bonadeia. That was the Roman goddess. And both these goddesses were goddesses of fertility. And so you ask yourself, well, why did the Romans then choose the Greek name? I don't know, ask them. But that is where the term May comes from. So May comes from Maya, which was the Greek god of fertility. And her festival is celebrated on the 1st of May. Celebrated on the 1st of May. And what did this consist of? First and foremost, it's an all-female festival. It's all women coming together in ritualistic form. There was the sacrificing of a female pig or a sow, right? And this, the blood, obviously sacrifice means that there's an outpouring of blood, and this outpouring was for Maya or Bonadeia. So again, the question becomes, and actually this female pig was given a name because she was fattened all through March, and then all through April, sorry. And then in May, 1st of May, then the sacrifice happened. And she was given a name, and her name was Damium, Damium. That was the name that she was given. Sorry for laughing, but I'm so sorry for laughing, but it just strikes me how odd this is, that you would name an animal and who knows, maybe those who took care of it even grew some sort of affection for it, and then at the end of a month you unalived the poor creature to this deity, right? So there's a story that I want to tell that's really funny around this time, and the story goes that because it was an all-female festival, and it was women getting together with some wine and whatever else that they were doing. You know, festivals in ancient Rome, like I've said before, were very hedonistic. It was all about the physical pleasure. So all these women are together, and before they left their homes, the men could not come. So men and sons were not allowed, uncles, whatever, you all stayed at home. So what they did is they would cover even images of males in the house for that particular festival. And this was done at the foot of a mountain called Aventine, Aventine. I guess they would pronounce it Aventine or something like that. Hi guys, I'm over here, Ubuntu. I'm here because they closed me down on the other side. These people who are enemies of progress. So that's why I'm here, and I'm gonna upload this. I'm going to upload this onto YouTube after this. Anyway, so that's the thing, is that these festivals had significant hallmarks, and they were all hedonistic. They were all about the physical pleasure. There was always vino. There was always sex, whether it be sex, M with M or women with women or whatever. But it was always very orgiastic, very much an orgy. And of course, there was, the spilling of blood, and sometimes it was animal blood, and most often also there was human blood involved. And so with this particular festival, this is what would be going on. So the story goes that there was a guy who was like, nah, them sisters at the foot of that hill, there's something going on over there, and I needs to find out what's going on, because the month of May had that one festival. And so he probably thought, we're being shortchanged because now we're being made to stay at home, and we can't take part in this so-called all-female festival. So what did this guy do? He dressed up as a woman and he snuck into the festival. And, he saw what was going on. And he decided, you know what, I'm going to join the sisters. And, let me see what they can, what we can do for each other. So the story goes that, the sisters had quite a bit of vino, and they were very liberal. And so they didn't chase him away at that point. He stayed. When I was doing this work, I always used to laugh at some of these stories. That's why I tell them with a smile on my face, because all I want to do is really laugh. Because the question I have for myself is, how are we so bamboozled that to this day, we're still carrying out and partaking in things we do not know of? And I think that is the key thing for Bagwantu, is that we remain stuck because we partake in things we do not know of. Many of us have not done the research to find out what is the meaning of all this. Where do these names derive of this particular calendar? And when you start to dig deep and you say, okay, so May it represents the goddess Maya, who is also Bonadea. Who is this goddess and what was happening? Then you get the full story. It's like, oh, wow. So wherever you are in the world, May Day, right? We know of the 1st of May, I think it is, being Workers' Day, especially on the continent. I don't know whether in the West is the same. So we know that this day is a day where people are gathering together. Of course, where people gather and there are barbecues and celebration. There's always going to be drink. So there is meat, there is drink, similar to what was going on back then. Now you tell me that as you are doing that unconsciously, you are in a sense pouring libation for this energy that you are calling out. And then for the rest of that month of May, every time you say, you are invoking that spirit or energy. Remember that anytime there is sacrifice in you, there are outpouring of blood, that is to a spirit or a particular energy. We understand that basic African spirituality 101. Ne? When you, guys, anyway, I just wanted to come here. I don't want to stay too long, just in case someone else comes here and reports this. I really wanted this knowledge out. I'm going to post it on YouTube. So now we've done March, April, and May, right? And the key question I said for April is people need to be asking themselves this fundamental question, which if you are a critical thinker, you will come up with the answer straight away. What does the death and resurrection of the Lamb got to do with Ishtar? How are those two even connected? And then you will see that these were arbitrary dates that were set for somebody who never existed in the first place. So if he didn't exist the way it is written in that book that he existed, it means that his birth date doesn't exist. It also means that his DOB doesn't exist, and all the other stories around him don't exist. So in the absence of that, who then are you pouring libations and celebrating? You are doing it to these originals, these ancient deities that have been there for millennia. Because the story of the Lamb is very recent compared to the age of these deities that are named after these months on the Gregorian calendar. and who are celebrated. They were celebrated. Now you are celebrating them without knowing it, because you think you're celebrating the birth and the birth of the lamb. And meanwhile, you're not. And then you think you're celebrating a new year, which is false anyway, because a new year, even in the northern hemisphere, is spring equinox, which is March. So you are misaligned there. And then secondly, you're celebrating Janus, the two-faced god of war, right? Think about some of these things. Easter, because of the non-existence of this lamb, who are you then pouring homage to and pouring your energy to? Lots of energy is harvested for who? For this original Roman deity, Ishtar. So when we talk about the falsehood and the fakeness of that religion, it is because of things like this. So you are being coerced or co-opted, not even coerced, because coercion is you know the facts and then somebody talks you into something. Co-opted means that somebody is putting you into something under the guise of something else. And you are partaking of it and giving your energy of it to the neglect of something that will give you life, which is your own ancestors and your own spirituality. Do you get? So on that note, I will close it here and I will see you guys. I'll probably do the next one here as well. But this is going to be uploaded to YouTube. Please, when you go to YouTube, guys, please like, subscribe, share. I really appreciate it. If you're going to watch the videos, please watch the ads. The revenue is very much useful in the writing of our book and all the other projects we're trying to do for the Great House, GEK, which is the Great Empire of Kemet. And by the way, before I carry on, I'd like to give a special shout out to the Great Empire of Kemet movement, to our master teacher Mkhulu Nsingiza, without whom this would not exist, to our great Baba Credo Mutwa, our great ancestor, without whom this would not exist. And we say thank you to Mkhulu for saying yes to the calling, to saying yes to the mandate and the purpose, and sitting at Bab Credo's feet so he could learn all he learned over decades, so that this could be produced, so that the Black nation knows that they have their own calendar, they have their own rituals and ceremonies, and that they do not need to rely on this mess that has kept us enslaved for centuries. Mamba Pila Bantu. I love you guys. Thokozeni Royals, and see you on the next upload. Thokozeni.